Craig, could you tell us a little bit about the reasons why you joined the army, what it was like having a career, and then ultimately what you faced, the reality of coming out, and how you dealt with that?
Yeah, I joined the Marines back in 2005. The reason I joined was I'd always wanted to do something military-wise. I've come from a heritage of military men. My father was in the military, my grandfather was in the military, and it's something I wanted to do. You've got everyone thinks there's a lot of travel, which there is, and you get to see exotic places, and you get the camaraderie of meeting new people and that kind of thing. And I did join, and I enjoyed all of that. The banter and the camaraderie you get with meeting these people and people you work with is second to none. You'll never have that in any other walk of life. In terms of my expectations, it was again what I expected. There was obviously a bit of a shock to the system going from a civilian to someone in the military way of life, but I travelled all over. I went to Sierra Leone, Egypt. I went, I was on board a ship for 5 or 6 months, travelling all over, and then obviously Afghanistan. I spent 21 months out of 24 months in a 24-month period out there, and saw all sorts of things that, well, a lot of it will never leave me. Some of it was great things, some of it was pretty shocking things. As a result of being out there in 2008, I saw a lot of my friends come back physically scarred. A young lad, 19, he stepped on an improvised explosive device, lost both his legs, the use of one of his arms, and he was a broken man. It's great to say that he's turned his life around now, but there's a lot of devastation on both sides, both on the military and the civilian side. Some of the things I saw and did in 2008 left me with PTSD, and there's quite a strong stigma in the military about that, and you don't talk about it and all that. And I kind of felt that I had it, but it was something I could never approach or sort of bring up because it's a bit taboo. And it was only 7 years later this year that I was formally diagnosed with it, and I've had a lot of help from charities, combat stress, and that to get out of that, get help with that. In terms of family life, and that is very challenging. My daughter was born while I was in the military. I was married before I joined. I'm now in the process of being divorced, and I believe that's primarily down to the amount of time spent away. It's just not really conducive to a married life. Some people manage it fine. It just wasn't something my wife could handle. Again, my daughter, she's 8 now. The first 3 years of her life, I probably saw her for a cumulative period of probably 5 months in 3 years. That's just because of travelling and operations and stuff. So I lost a lot of the sort of really good early years of that, and there's a time you can never really take back. But now that I've left, and it's a bit of a shock to the system leaving the military, because although you join as a civilian and you sort of have this mindset and that, when you leave you become a civilian again, and it's quite hard to adjust sometimes for some people. I found it a little bit challenging, but when you're in the military, you've got this set of rules and guidelines and procedures, and everything's done to a set of orders or to a rule or to someone's command. And when you go out to being a civilian again, you kind of like on your own there. You get your sort of leaving routine, and your help with writing a CV and stuff, but it is a big bad world there, and you've got no one there watching your back like you do in the military with everything else, so you're kind of on your own, an individual again, just another person in society, not part of a bigger picture like you are in the Marines or the military. So I find it quite challenging in that, but again, just perseverance gets you through that.
How did you what was it that brought you to where you are now in terms of your relationship with the H2O project?
Well, it's been a very challenging couple of months for me. After leaving the military, my only skill set that I really had was being an infantry soldier. So obviously the most logical step is to go and follow that into the private sector as a security operator. I worked for the last 3 years in Iraq and Afghanistan as a bodyguard for various people. Obviously the PTSD wasn't very helpful and was a bit of a hindrance, and I started to struggle with that. I've also got a neurological condition called neuromyotonia, which is quite rare, but again that impeded my ability to work abroad. So I found myself having sort of some seizures recently, a couple of months ago, and it was at that point I decided that I needed to make a sort of change in career. As a result, I contacted my employer, and my contract was terminated, so I found myself stuck for money, couldn't get a job. I lost my house and my flat that I was living in, and ended up staying with family for a couple of weeks. They live abroad, so I couldn't stay there long, and then I had to come back to the UK to see the neurologist. I ended up living rough for just under a month, and SAFA, I got in touch with SAFA, and they kindly helped me get in touch with the YMCA, who offered me a sort of emergency place, so I now have a roof over my head, which is really helpful. Through the YMCA and SAFA, Amadeo got in contact with me, and we met up, and we started discussing, sort of plan on what I could do, what sort of what the charity could help me with, where I wanted to be, what sort of qualifications I was looking at doing, what sort of jobs I was aiming for, and we worked on a sort of a program to facilitate that. We discussed improving my GCSE maths. There was an offer of a lifeguard course, to help with any sort of leisure time work and ad hoc work on the side, and just general sort of one-on-one tutoring, mentoring and stuff like that I felt really, really helpful, and that you don't really get from any other sort of charities out there. SAFA was great and YMCA has been great, but I find that this project's been phenomenal, and it's definitely been a sort of changing point in my life. I've now managed to find a full-time job, and Amadeo and that they help you with your interview technique and building a CV properly, and just gaining the qualifications you need.
Building your confidence.
Building your confidence, that's it. Building your confidence, and the water sports and stuff was phenomenal. I've never surfed in my life before, and that was definitely a confidence builder. Getting up on some crazy waves in the middle of Boscombe Pier kind of area. It brings back that camaraderie as well, meeting new lads, and there's a lot of new lads that I've gotten to know, and I'll hopefully keep in contact with when I move on and stuff. But the confidence and the camaraderie, and just generally sort of like a civilian equivalent of having that brotherhood that you have in the military, and it's been a great assistance for me.
Good. And we'll always be together. That's the way I look at it.
Absolutely, yeah.
Good. Thank you.